Hello, welcome back. I'm Darren, and today I don't have anything in particular to talk about. So, if you liked this conversation, yeah, I'm just probably going to touch on a number of. I don't know if that's coming across a bit loud. Probably a couple of subjects. So, been running a few games in the last this week basically, because up until today the weather has been not great, and everything that I intended to do has gone out the window this week. So I was running the First Descendant. I wasn't particularly overexcited by that game the first couple of probably the first hour or two I put into it. Now what I will say is it's a free download. You don't have to invest any money into it. You don't have to buy battle packs or anything like that. Battle passes, all of that stuff. My advice would probably be download it, try it. If you can push past the first zone, get into your first boss fight, use the public lobbies. Just play with other people, because you will find, I was in a situation last night where I was trying to do one of the main tasks, so like the purple highlighted storyline tasks, which you need to obviously progress through. And unfortunately, there was just no one around. There was no way I could do it on my own. So just use other people. It's far more fun like that. And obviously, if you don't realise, you can get any of the boss fights, you can just go back to and just farm them again. So, if you're looking for weapons to either dismantle, or you're just looking for better weapons or anything like that, just rerun some stuff like that. Normally when you rerun like the boss fights, I found, which I thought was hilarious, the first boss fight, I'm not going to say it wasn't hard, as in I wasn't in kind of a situation where I thought that I was going to die, but it took quite a long time. Now, I assume for your first run, I don't know how it works. Maybe it's just I timed it with other people that were at a similar level. I'm not sure. But the first time I did it, it took quite a while. The second time I went into, once I realised I could actually go back in and farm materials, it was hilarious, because there was some person in there actually one-shotted the boss, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. It literally spawned, the guy dropped down from the sky, instantly died, and scattered the loot across the floor. So, that's stuff that I didn't realise. I'm sure if you're someone that's been playing it for a while and you've watched guides, you'll know that. But like I said, I try to avoid guides until it's a game that I know that I'm going to be investing a lot of time in. So, Tarkov was a big game for me, and if you're going to invest a lot of time in that game, you probably start and need to using guides. So up until now, I've kind of avoided guides in it, but I might start looking at stuff so I fully understand the weapons and stats and how to gain materials for upgrades, etc. But anyway, that I'd say personally, certainly from my point of view, give it a go. It's free download. You'll probably find you might even get at least 10 hours of gameplay out of it, which for a free download, can't argue. And the second game that I've been playing, again, another free download, was Once Human. At the moment, I've got kind of mixed feelings on that one. I don't want to be too negative, because I do that a lot on my first impressions, so I might need to put some more time into it. Hugely in-depth game. Graphically, for me, certainly at 4K, it's kind of hit and miss. I wish they put... I don't know, I kind of wish that the gameplay graphics were as good as the menu graphics, because the menus are... I know this sounds stupid to get excited over menus, but I find a lot of kind of games recently that are good games and extremely good graphically tend to have like the worst kind of low resolution, nasty, detailed menus. And when you spend a lot of time in menus in games, I find that kind of disappointing. I know a lot of people wouldn't care, but it's just something that in some games I can find quite disappointing. I think the menu system in something like Grey Zone I found a bit disappointing. The menu system in this game is probably the best menu system I've seen, just for looks. The way it operates, if I was going to design an in-game menu system, I would be proud of that one. So fair play to the devs or whoever was in charge of that. Unfortunately, let down by the actual in-game graphics for me. Texture popping is probably the worst I think I've seen in a game in a very long time. So basically, as you pan the camera around, even quite distant objects will be extremely low res, and you'll watch them slowly turn into medium res to high res or whatever they do. You see the transition, which is not great. I didn't notice it so much once I got past the initial area. Kind of more into the open world, probably got a bit more involved in the gameplay. I went through kind of a lot of I uploaded a video a minute ago. I went through quite a lot of it during that video. So if you haven't and you're interested, I won't go too much into this video because it'll drag it out. So, have a listen. If you're someone like me that just walks around working with earpods in, you could probably listen to what I'm saying. So that's those two games covered. Now, I was intending to be on the Alienware 1440p monitor by now. I'm not there yet. I might get there by the end of the day, but today is red hot. I noticed yesterday that my temps on my 7900 XTX are gradually going up and up. So they were kind of around 69. I've noticed I'm going up to like 74 at the moment. Today is unbelievably warm already. I don't know what time what are we, so yeah, I'm kind of 11:30. I'm guessing they might get even hotter today, which is a little bit of a concern. So I do have a bit of knowledge when it comes to overclocking, but more importantly in this instance undervolting. So I might have a tinker with some undervolting. I don't know. I might post a video. I might do where I started and where I ended, and then maybe the settings I used to get there. It's too long-winded to start running a video doing all of the various benchmarks that I'll do it in between to find my settings. So I think that's what I might do before I swap over to the 1440p. I think I will. So that'll probably be my next video. I'll probably do I don't know, I think I might use something like Alan Wake, because Alan Wake pushed it quite hard. Plus, I think I can find an area in Alan Wake where I've got a more stable FPS. So effectively, I'm not looking to gain. I probably will, because at 74 or 75 degrees, I will be dropping boost clocks. Generally over 60, I think you start to drop boost clocks. So I'm not effectively looking to gain. I'm looking at the moment, more importantly, to drop temps. Obviously, we are at 400 watts. I think Alan Wake pushed it quite hard at 4K. So I'll see what I can do. And that's about it. I did notice, in fact, I believe there was a bit of a bombshell dropped in one of my friend Andrew Frogboy X1 Gaming's video about the importance of upscalers, maybe. So he did actually send me a tweet last night with the benchmarks of Black Myth Wukong, and that looks brutal. Like, my 4080 is shaking the XTX has hidden behind the sofa. I'm guessing 4090 owners are even perspiring a bit. Probably going down the route of, I think we're seeing definitely a lot of now benchmarks, definitely from manufacturers, that are including even frame generation now within their own benchmarks. So frame generation, relatively heavy upscaling. This was on, I think this was using DLSS Performance, I think it had written. It was at 4K, and it was with Max RT. So I personally don't think, I think Andrew said the same thing, that we're miles away from benchmarks including upscaling and frame generation. That's not necessarily a bad thing for either of them. In fact, if anything, it's actually an advantage for AMD, as FSR free frame generation has a big advantage in performance. So it is going to put them ahead on a lot of benchmarks. Now, that will cause arguments, and it will sway the... Oh, I don't know. It's going to be a bit awkward, because at that point, I think when you're running native, when your benchmarks are running native, then you're not taking, obviously, any type of image quality into the results. Unfortunately, we are going to be in a case where it's probably going to cause more arguing when you put side-by-side benchmarks, including FSR, DLSS, XeSS, and then their different frame generations. Intel have already kind of changed the way that they spec their quality, their XeSS quality, to their balanced. And I think they've got an ultra quality. It's all a bit over the place, so it's going to become awkward. But at the same time, I think it's getting into being more important for the end user, because benchmarks of 20 or 30 FPS in modern games is of no use to anyone. People won't be playing them like that. It doesn't really help anyone. So it's going to be awkward. There's going to be a transition. There's going to be a lot of kickback. Understandable. I understand some of the kickback that will happen. It's fair that there will be some kickback. But at the same time, I don't think, certainly on current hardware, benchmarks that don't include upscalers or frame generation are particularly any help to anyone. They're almost pointless, nothingless. So I think that's where we're going to be at. So I'm going to end this video there. There's no need for it to go on much longer. My next video, possibly because it's getting really hot now, which is probably a good time to do it, will be on undervolting. I'll run an undervolt on the 7900 XTX. It does appear that I do have more interest in my AMD content at the moment, so that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to do that. I see a lot of people in comments on other content, on AMD content, asking for guides on undervolts. I can't do that. Technically, I'm not good enough, but I can give you some guidance. It would take so long to go through adjusting every setting and re-benchmarking it. It would be a 5-hour video, and it's not something that I want to sit at the computer and do. While I'm adjusting and running benchmarks, I can get on with other things while the benchmark is running. I can allow the system to cool back down again after it's done a benchmark, before I then obviously readjust and run another benchmark. So effectively, the best that I can do is kind of run into a game, see where we're at. I'll have a kind of mess around in the settings, find out what worked best for me, and then we'll run back into a game. We'll see what we've done in the way of temperature improvement, if we've managed to gain some performance in doing so. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So with that said, I'm going to end the video. If you liked, awesome, swim your like, and I will catch you in the next one.